everyone. Now this is our last lesson in the life of Amy Carmichael. Before I begin telling you about what happened to Amy later in her life, I'm going to let you know what I'm going to do at the very, very end, okay? So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to wait just a few seconds to give you a while to answer, and then I'm going to tell you what the correct answer is, okay? So we're going to try to talk a little bit about what happened in Amy's life, and let's see if you can remember, okay? But first, there was a time in Amy's life where she was very active in India. We've been talking about that this whole time. There have been moments where Amy rescued children herself, and she climbed towers, and she went on dirt roads to go visit many different children, and she rescued children, and she was very active. Well, one time she was running very quickly when it was dark outside, and she fell into a ditch, and she broke her leg. Now Amy lay there for 4 hours waiting for somebody to find her, and when they did, they put her into a truck and began driving her to the hospital. Well, on the way, it was raining horribly. There was so much rain, and they had to cross a bridge. On that bridge, because of the heavy rain, part of the river had knocked away the bridge. And as they went over the part of the bridge, the car bumped, and it jerked Amy's leg. And even though it hurt very badly when that happened, God protected them, because it could have been much, much worse. The car could have fallen into the river because the bridge was broken, or many other things could have happened. But God took care of Amy once again. Now, because of her broken leg, her body didn't heal correctly. So she was never able to do all of those active things with the children again. But God used her in different ways, especially when she wrote different books and different articles about what God had done in India on behalf of all the kids there. God said some beautiful things, didn't he? We learned about those things. Well, Amy wrote those things down, and because of Amy, there were many things in India that became illegal, like you couldn't sell children any longer, and there were other laws to protect children that were put in place in India because of Amy. And also because of Amy, many people came to know Jesus, and many children's lives were changed. So let's see if you can remember from the beginning what we learned about Amy's life. Okay, are you guys ready? At the beginning of our story, do you remember when she was a little girl? Can you remember what Amy prayed for at the very, very beginning? Amy prayed for blue eyes, didn't she? But what happened? Did God give her blue eyes? No, he didn't. Why was that? If you said it was because God knew that she needed brown eyes in order to do the work he called her to in India, you're right. Amy had to disguise herself when she became a missionary and lived in India, didn't she? So that God could use her to save the lives of many people and rescue them from dangerous situations. All right, what else about Amy did she do to disguise herself? She put coffee on her skin, didn't she? And it made her skin a beautiful tan brown. so that she could look more like the Indian women, and she even put on the same kind of robes that they would wear, kind of like dresses and scarves and things like that. So if you got all those answers right, that's awesome. Good for you. Let's keep going, okay? All right, so what happened when children began to come to Amy? What did she learn about their lives? Were they living in safe environments all the time? No. That's why Amy needed to rescue them. They were living in very, very difficult situations. And what did we learn about the idols that they were praying to, the statues that the different children and people were praying to? Could those statues hear them? Could they answer their prayers? They couldn't, could they? The Bible says that they can't see, they can't hear, and they can't speak. And they definitely don't care for us because they're not alive. God is the true God. He loves us, He cares for us, and He answers our prayers, doesn't He? Now, we learned in the life of Amy that God answers prayer in 3 different ways, doesn't He? Sometimes He says, no. Now, when God didn't give Amy blue eyes, He said no, and there was a reason behind it. He was making a good decision for Amy and her future. But sometimes God would say, what? If you said that God would say yes and that God would say wait, you're exactly right. We talked about that a little bit, didn't we? Because sometimes they had to wait for God to give them what they needed, didn't they? They prayed for it, but Amy had to wait a little while, and the children did too. But God always provided. Now, do you remember what happened when they prayed for a car? Did they get it instantly? No. They had to wait a little bit, didn't they? But God took care of them in His time, and He provided the car. All right, guys, I'm sure you're doing great. I wish I could hear your answers. Let's keep going. Can you guys think of a time that we have had to wait recently? We've all had to wait in our homes recently, haven't we? You guys haven't been able to go to school, and we haven't been able to go out and do some of the things that we would normally do. Right now, we're just waiting, but we can trust God because what He's doing is going to be beautiful. All right, let's see what our next picture tells us. Oh, upside down. Okay, this was one of the times that the children had to wait. They were opening mail. Do you remember? They opened everything, didn't they? But what happened? What did they find in the last package? They got some of the money that they needed. They needed to have 100 pounds, remember? And in the last package, they got 60. And then they found out there was more coming. God took care of the children, and He'll take care of you too, the things that you need during this waiting time when you're at home. Okay, last card. What did God do for Amy when she was being chased by the boys? Do you remember? There was a woman that lived on the street that pulled Amy into her house. And even though they only had a white sheet between them and the dangerous young men on the other side, God is all powerful, isn't He? He's stronger than anything in the universe. And it wasn't the white sheet that protected them, was it? It was God. I am so thankful that you guys followed me along in this story of Amy Carmichael. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again. And I will be praying about what God would have us to do next. Maybe we'll learn about another missionary. I hope to see you soon. Bye, guys.